Hey guys, don't know if we are live as of yet. I can never really tell. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. We are live. What's going on, guys? Happy Saturday. Happy weekend. Hope all of you had a fantastic week and you're ready for next week. I am coming live for you tonight because earlier I went into the Facebook group and I posted something about what is your biggest struggle right now in your business? What are you having the most trouble with on a day-to-day basis, right? And it's kind of a loaded question, right? I understand that. But I wanted to try to do something for you guys just because I value all of you. I value this community. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to kind of bring you guys as much value as I possibly can. So I'm going to be going through lot questions that were posted on that post earlier, but I will also answer any questions that you guys post on this live video as well. So if you have questions as I'm going, or if you have anything that you would like to hear me talk about or address, if there's anything that you need help with in your business that maybe you feel like we could have a conversation about, drop the comment in the comment section of this live video as well. I'll be going through both posts, right? I'll be going through the earlier posts, but I'll also be going through questions that were asked on this post. And truth be told, I mean, this community is amazing, right? It's incredible. And the reason why I say that is because there are so many people in this Facebook group that are far above in their careers of what I've even been able to accomplish. And I've learned a ton of things from a lot of you guys. And so, it's not to say that I know everything. I certainly don't know everything. I learn things all the time, especially from a lot of you. And this group is as much, a resource for me as it is for any of you. But essentially, what I feel like my purpose is in the group is, as somebody that's done a lot of things in our business, as somebody that's done a lot of things in our industry, had a lot of experience, sometimes I pick up a thing or two along the way, and I might be able to share that with you guys and kind of slow or cut down some learning curve for you. And that's really my intention from the get-go with the group in general. I want to help as many people as I can bring their businesses up to the next level. That's really the purpose of Six Figure Medicare Agent. So I'm just going to kind of jump right into this. My wife was nice enough to get me some ice cream. So she brought home some ice cream for me and the baby. The baby just went to bed, so this is a perfect time to kind of do this and spend some time here with you guys. I'm going to spend a lot of time with you guys here tonight. So I'm planning on staying on for a while because I enjoy doing this and I enjoy helping out any way that I can. This is some chocolate fudge right here, and it is totally bomb. So, hey guys, so let's start this off. There's a couple of things that were asked that I might end up just making full videos about because they're topics that are so wide and so diverse that I don't know if I'll have time to answer many questions if I'm answering them, and also there's certain topics that were asked about that it's really more of a topic that I should show you, that I should show you like on a screen share or something like that, how to make a design or something like that. So just if I don't answer your question, and I'll read them all, but if I don't answer your question, I'll explain why, and it just means I'm probably going to make a full-on video about it. I'm going to try to answer as many of these questions as I can, and of course, I'll only answer a question if it's something that I've experienced myself, I've had success with, and I feel qualified to speak on it. I don't really like to talk about things that I don't feel like I know enough about, right? And I don't think I'm a know-it-all, but I've seen a lot of things. So first question that was asked on the post earlier today was by Tabitha Justice, and she asked about how to create unique compliant marketing flyers and brochures, that's more something that I probably need to show you guys, right? Like on a Canva, something like that. So I might end up just doing a whole video about that. So I'm going to skip over that. Jason asked, ways to develop relationships with financial planners, accountants, and other spheres of influence in order to get referrals, and just prospecting in general. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about how you actually cultivate relationships with financial planners. I have a video coming out next week that's called how to become a six-figure Medicare advisor, and I go into a ton of detail and depth into how you actually do that, because I think one thing that's really going to help you and kind of increase that process of getting to a six-figure Medicare agent in particular, especially if you're starting as a new agent from zero, is finding ways to get referrals and inbound traffic to come into your business as much as possible, because a lot of times people don't know you don't have that much of a book of business yet, and you're not going to have as many referrals come in naturally, right? Like a person that has 10 clients, they might go years and not get a referral, whereas a person that has 1,000, they're going to get referrals all the time if they're doing a great job taking care of those 1,000 people, right? So developing relationships with financial planners, I've seen this kind of be split on the group. I've seen some of you be like, oh, well, that's a dumb idea, financial planners. Or I've heard other people say, every time I talk to a financial planner, they're just trying to pitch me something or recruit me or whatever the case might be. Guys, that kind of stuff is going to happen no matter what kind of agent you're talking to. PNC, it's not going to matter. You're talking to an agent. You don't know who they are. They could build their business on the back of recruiting. You just don't know, right? And you're a licensed insurance agent. And if they're a recruiter, it's almost like you just fell into their lap. One thing I would encourage you guys to keep in mind when it comes to financial planners, accountants, things like that, is you have to understand that it's almost like prospecting, right? You're not going to have an instant connection, or you're not going to kind of get where you want to go with every single person you talk to, right? Like the average agent closes about 20% of their leads, and that's average closing ratio. Anything above that is above average. That's what all the data suggests. And I don't see why, talking to other agents and, financial planners and things like that is going to be any different. You're probably going to have to talk to a few before you find one that, one, has a need for what you're asking them to do. And that's essentially partnering, so you guys can have a mutually beneficial relationship where they send you referrals, maybe you send them referrals, maybe you send them referral fees. And you're able to do that, by the way. If someone actively carries a health insurance license, you're able to compensate them a referral fee when they send you a client that you're able to close. And you can't, and so essentially that's a big part of the pitch. So here would be my pitch if I was talking to a financial planner. My pitch would be, let's say I'm talking to an Agent Jones, right? That's the name we're going to go with, Agent Jones. I would say, listen, Agent Jones, and I'm going to talk about another thing in a second here. I'm going to come back to this, but I'm going to talk about how you get in front of these people. But when you're in front of this person, what you actually want to say to them would be something along the lines of this, and then you can kind of make it your own. But I would say, listen, Agent Jones, you're doing financial planning products. And of course, this only works if they're not doing Medicare, right? So if you talk to them and they tell you that they're doing Medicare, why would they send any business to you, right? So it just cut your losses at that point and probably walk away. A lot of financial planners do Medicare, but there's also a lot that don't want to deal with it, and they're comfortable referring it out. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I have about 15 financial planners in my area that send my office referrals consistently. I had one last year that, I don't know the exact number, I'd have to count it up, but he sent us at least 40 in the year, just one guy. And so this is my pitch and my approach to these guys. If I'm able to kind of, build a relationship, maybe I drop in their office. I don't do it much anymore, but early on in my career, I was really good at it. And so I would say, listen, Agent Jones, you're doing financial planning, right? You're setting clients up with these financial products, but you don't do Medicare. I guarantee you there is other people right now that are out there working your clients that are age 65 or older or turning 65. They're going into their house. They're helping them with their Medicare plan. But the main key to this, Agent Jones, is there's a good chance that they might offer the same kind of services and products that you do. So they might be offering financial planning products and Medicare products. Maybe they do both. And here's the thing about that. Your business is not protected. They could be potentially using Medicare to get in the door. And then they want to come back in a week or so and replace the business that you've put on that person. So this is happening all the time with your clients that are over the age of 65. Why not partner with me? I don't do what you do. This only works, this pitch only works if you don't do financial planning. I don't. But I would say, I don't do what you do. What you have in me is you have somebody that knows not to bite the hand that feeds. If we have a relationship and you're sending me referrals, I'm going to do 3 things, Agent Jones. Number 1, I'm going to protect your business. You know I'm not going to replace your business because I don't do it, number 1. Number 2, I'm going to provide them excellent service. I'm going to take fantastic care of them, and you're going to look that much better because you recommended me. And number 3, anytime they ask about what you do, I'm always going to edify you, send them back to you, and it's just going to mean that we're protecting the business together. Now, if you have a health insurance license, Agent Jones, I'm able to actually compensate you up to $100. My office does up to $100 per client. So that's what I would say. We'll compensate you up to $100 per client you send us for you having to do nothing. And like I said, there's people out there writing your clients on Medicare right now, and you're not getting anything out of it. So 1, I'm going to protect your business. 2, I'm going to make you look good. 3, you're going to get to make a little bit of a profit out of it. So what do you say? Let's do this. That kind of pitch. That's essentially the value that you can bring to these financial planners. Same goes for P&C, right? There's agents out there that do Medicare that they might also do P&C. They're trying to replace your renter's policy, your homeowner's policy, your auto policy. They're trying to get as many policies in the house as possible. Every single FMO and IMO teaches this philosophy. So you better believe the agents that are out there right now that are doing the products that you don't do, there's plenty of them that are trying to take your business while they're talking to this client, right? So that would be what my pitch would be, trying to build those relationships. Now, in terms of actually getting in front of this person, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I've heard of people cold calling these people. I've heard of them cold emailing. I've never been a big fan of that because I just don't think you're typically going to get anywhere. I think you need to make an impression, especially if you have no existing relationship already. The best thing that I think that you can do is drop in on them, right? When you're out and about, you drop in on them. The first visit, you really need to stand out. And of course, most of these offices, they're going to have a front desk person, a secretary. I call them a gatekeeper, because the gatekeeper is trained and is paid to keep people like you and me away from the business owner. They're supposed to keep people away from their boss. And so you have to find a way to essentially make yourself memorable, right? You might not be able to even talk to the person the first time. I've always told people, and it might sound cliche, but if you picked up some Einstein bagels, some donuts, some cookies, whatever the case might be, and you just dropped in, you're like, hey, I just wanted to drop this off for your office. My name's Christian. I specialize in Medicare. I just was in the area. I saw the sign. I hope that maybe, if you guys don't do Medicare, that maybe we might be able to, help each other out at some point in time. Maybe I can be a resource at long term for your clients and customers and just be a resource for your office. Just something like that, just simple, and then leave, and you give it 2 weeks, you come back in, I guarantee they're gonna remember you. I've had success doing this with dentist offices, doctors' offices, more dentist offices. Dentist offices I seem to do well with. There's a lawyer that moved into our building, and they do divorce law, and they are moving in upstairs in our suite, right? So in my office, we're in an office building, and we have a suite. So they moved in upstairs, and they dropped in last week. They're new tenants, and they're doing this, right? They're doing my strategy, essentially. It's not really mine. I didn't invent it, but they're using this exact strategy on us. I can tell. One of the guys dropped in with like these huge thing of brownies, just as like to introduce themselves. And they were fantastic and they were delicious. And I ate probably half of them myself. I gained like 5-6 pounds. And and it obviously it worked because I remember this. I remember this person. I'm talking to you about it right now, right? So I guarantee, give it about next 30 days, they're going to try to come and talk to us again and see if there's a way that we can work together and have a relationship together where we're helping each other's businesses. So that would be my 2 cents, just a few tips on the financial planning, kind of building that network of relationships. There's so many things you can do too. I mean, geez. If you participate in networking groups, you're going to meet people. If you participate in, BNI, I'm not a big BNI guy, but if you do, you might be able to meet somebody. I'm not a big fan of it. Story for another day. But, you join your local chamber of commerce. NAHU is a great one. Join your local NAHU chapter because there's so many group insurance agents. People that don't do Medicare for sure in NAHU. I can tell you that, and you can get a lot of referrals off of that. Danielle Kunkel-Roberts, good friend of mine, she did a video with me 2 years ago, and she was actually the first person to recommend that, and it works. I can say that I tried it myself because I joined my chapter and formed some great relationships locally here with the NAHU. So anyway, I'll move on from that topic. All right, let's move on to Renee. Renee wanted to talk about paperwork. This one I can probably get through pretty quickly. Ice cream is so dang good, you guys. I'm trying to eat better. I'm trying to be on a diet right now, but I can't help myself. When my wife brings me home ice cream, nothing I can do about it. Okay. So, Renee's full question. First, she talked about paperwork. I should probably tag her in this live because I told her I would. Just hang on, guys. I'll see if I can get this done. That's not letting me. All right. So, she's on. Okay, I see. So the full question that Renee asked was, I have files like doctor's offices. I have files like a doctor's office. When you write big time during AP, or at least big time for me, how do you put all the info in your CRM? I can't get caught up. I'm lost with that. I don't have an assistant and don't know that I could have someone on my notes because I only I know my clients. Okay, I think I got it. Here's the thing I'll tell you about that. I'm pretty sympathetic to that because when I started, I actually did a series of Taco Tuesday videos yesterday with Glenn, and we were actually talking about this. We did a whole episode about CRMs. We got some killer Taco Tuesdays coming out for you guys, by the way. But we were talking about CRMs, and I shared something on on there, and I'm going to share it with you guys too. When I first got started in the business, a lot of you guys know, I worked with my dad, right? My dad was a veteran insurance agent, and my dad did not really have a CRM. He had a database. He had a database that was not in the cloud. It was called INSCOM software. It was the type of software that essentially was downloaded onto your computer. It wasn't connected to the internet at all. It was not in the cloud. Like I said, it had to be backed up on an external hard drive. It was an archaic system, right? It was just super old, super outdated. It looked like it was made in the 90s. It probably was. It looked like it was designed for like Windows 98 or some shit. So that's what we had. And also, the front desk computer, the receptionist computer had to be on for it to work on any other computer. And I didn't even have access to it for the first 2 years, right? So all the client data that I personally had access to were apps that were printed off or paper apps that were in a file cabinet because I didn't know any better. So when I first actually got a CRM, I actually did go through the process of implementing every single client one by one, and it took months to do it because, I just do it when I can. I do a little here, a little bit there. And I think that Justin Brock said Netscape Navigator. Probably. I don't know. I've never heard of that one. We'll have to talk about that next time we talk. But this software was called InsCom software that my dad used. It was ancient. And thank God we don't use that anymore. But essentially, at the time, I didn't have anybody working for me either. When I first got a CRM, the first one I ever used was Radius Bob. Radius Bob is a great CRM, especially if you're just an individual agent. It's going to do what you need it to do. It's got good automations. It's got a dialer. It can hold lead information. It can hold client information. It can do a lot of different things. So if you're just an individual agent, Radius Bob is cheap, it's inexpensive, and it can do a lot of things that you need. It can connect through different other services. Most lead companies and lead vendors can connect it and kind of integrate the leads automatically into it, so your automations can start. So Radius Bob is a fine CRM. That's the one I started using myself when I started using a CRM. But truth be told, there's no trick to getting the clients in there, especially if you're not transferring from one CRM to another. So sometimes when you're transferring from one CRM and you're getting a different one, a lot of times you can import all of, if not a large portion of the information over to the new CRM, and it's like instant. And sometimes there's like little mistakes here and there that need to be fixed and cleaned up, but it's pretty instantaneous most of the time. That's how it worked when we moved from Radius Bob to Agency Block, which is what we're using now. But if you've never put any information into a CRM, there's really no trick to kind of putting it in there. You kind of got to manually do it. I mean, if you have a family member or somebody like that you trust, it might not be such a bad idea to pay them per hour to just, as data entry, just temporarily. If you're just looking to make some extra money, I mean, that might be an idea. Because it's pretty redundant tasks of putting the clients in one by one. But it's just going to take some time. There's really no secret to putting it in there. And then once you get used to the CRM, you're going to be you're going to get used to it, and you're going to start relying on it more and more, and you're going to realize how much easier it makes your life. And then it'll be easy to use, right? I use my CRM constantly. It's open all day, every day on my computer when I'm working, whether I'm working from home or whether I'm at the office. My CRM is open, baby. I mean, because I'm always needing to get information from it, right? I mean, no matter what the situation is. I mean, you could be talking to a client, got their file pulled up in front of you, you got notes about when they called, you have recorded phone recordings of when they called in previously. So yeah, I mean, I think just using one and getting the information in it and just forcing yourself to open it up and use it is going to really be the only trick here. Okay. I'm going to get to... All right. TJ asked me to talk about marketing and lead generation. Yeah, very broad topic. And then he kind of narrowed it down for me, so thank you for that, TJ. He said maybe a top 3 most effective marketing methods: Facebook or Instagram ads, local marketing. That probably deserves like its own YouTube video. That could be like a 30-minute, 45-minute YouTube video. Just for time, I'm going to skip that one, guys. I hope you understand. Okay, so Amy, she said this year, finding a couple of good agents who aren't afraid to work, finding a great admin, and setting the legal side of my business up properly for the next stage of growth. It's time to pivot my business from a one-woman show to a solid team on a good foundation. Love that question, and I think that's something that a ton of people go through, and I think when you're making the transition from going from a single one-person show to actually bringing on employees, what you're doing is you're taking the step from a self-employed individual to actually building a company and a business. Hopefully you're incorporated. I don't know a whole lot about your business, Amy, but Hopefully you already are incorporated with an LLC, an S Corp, C Corp, whatever it might be, but that is going to protect your interests, number one. Number two, it's going to be very important because if anything was to ever happen to you, it's going to be much easier for a spouse or a loved one to be able to kind of take over your company. It definitely protects your business from being lost because another principal can just kind of slide in there and take over the company. And so that's definitely something that you should do if you haven't already, although you might have already kind of gone through that process. Now, when it comes to finding a couple of good agents, you aren't afraid to work. That's $1 million question. I mean, you can ask any of us that work with agents in a large bundle here. You can ask Joanna Wyckoff. You can ask, I'm sure, Justin Brock, right? You can ask anybody, any FMO, you name it. Finding agents is hard. And, I mean, you look at the statistics, right? What is 8% Nation all about? 8% Nation is built on the statistic that only 8% of insurance agents last more than 3 years in the business. So that means 92% of them flame out. And do 92% of agents flame out because their uplines are bad all the time and there's just other people to blame? Leads suck, uplines suck, whatever the case might be. I'm sure for some of them that the answer to that is yes, but certainly not for all of them, right? I mean, I can tell you guys this. I've had so many agents that have worked with me the last 2 or 3, maybe 3 years or so. And I have a lot of great agents that have worked with me too. So this is not, I'm not just, talking about all my agents, but we've certainly had agents come through our organization to where, I've tried to do everything for them. I've had agents that were contracted independent for me when I first started working with agents, and this was a learning process for me, but I would buy them leads, fresh direct mail drops, and they were in an area that was pulling almost 3% on direct mail drops. They were calling and making phone appointments with these leads, and then I was running the appointment because I wanted to show them how to do the appointment. This particular agent, I found out later on, was essentially like putting the phone on mute and going off and doing other things and not even paying attention and just letting me make the sale for them. And I was making the override, and that was it. And she was making a bulk of the commission. So, it's hard with agents because now if you're talking about bringing a couple of agents into your office and working as a staff member, that's a little bit of a different story. You have to find a special type of person that wants to have a career position, that is comfortable assigning all of their commissions to you if it's an LOA position, but at the same time, you want somebody that, because you want somebody that's hardworking and motivated, but if they're too motivated, they're probably going to want to create their own agency, right? So you got to find the special type of person that is okay being a number 2 or okay being a number 3. And I got news for you guys. It's okay to be a number 2 or a number 3 with a great company. It is okay to do that. I mean, you guys don't think the number 2 guy or the number 3 or maybe even the 4 or 5 guy at Facebook made a lot of money? Or the number 3, 4, or 5 guy at Amazon made a lot of money? It wasn't just Mark Zuckerberg. It wasn't just Jeff Bezos. So you got to find those people that are okay not being the number 1. So Justin Brock commented on here, so I'll quote him. I seem to quote Justin a lot. Free publicity for you, JP. Not that you need it, but smart, hungry, and humble is something I learned from him when it comes to agents. You want agents that are smart, hungry, and humble. And that's going to be key, because if they have this big ego and they're just I can tell you a big red flag for me when I talk to an agent and they're bragging, they're just like, yeah, man, I'm just going to come right in and I'm going to kill it. I can sell anything, bro. I can sell anything. I dig the confidence, but the arrogance of it all, you don't have any idea what it's like to do this business. You don't understand the compliance. You don't understand, especially if you're independent, you don't understand basically having to hold yourself accountable. When you're independent and you're just starting out, you are sales, customer service, you are accounting, you are marketing, you're everything. And not everybody is built to kind of handle it that way. There's a ton of people that are independent that probably shouldn't be independent. truth be told. I hope that answered your question, Amy. Um, oh, I'm gonna touch on another thing that Amy asked about, because you asked about finding a great admin as well. So finding a great admin is, I think finding a good agent is more difficult than finding a good admin, but I've also been really lucky with the admins that we have. We have a fantastic team. With an admin, I mean, when I first hired my first assistant, I started her at $15 an hour. She makes way more than that now. I won't disclose it, but she makes a ton more now, and she deserves it. I don't think you can get anybody, and this also depends on where you live as well and kind of what the cost of living is, so it's not a blanket statement. It's hard to kind of throw out a number that's going to really have something to do with, you know, all around the country, but I don't think you can get somebody decent for less than 16, 17 an hour. So you have to be willing to pay. Also, with an admin, you want someone that's got a good personality, but you don't want someone that talks too much. This is hugely important. Trust me on this, because if you get somebody that talks too much, they're going to be talking the client's ear off on the phone. They got too big of a personality, and they don't understand when to get off the phone. Or they will talk the ear off of other people you have working in the office, or you, and you'll never be able to get something done. Like, we've had people that have worked in our office that they talk a ton. Like, they'll start off a story and the story never ends. So you want a good personality. You want them to be very capable of talking to people. You know, they're witty. Like, that's kind of what you want in terms of someone that's on the phone talking to your clients. You want them to be a good representation of you, but you don't want them to waste time either. You want them to be efficient, and you want them to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? You want them to be very intuitive of when it's time to get off the phone and kind of how to manage things and get things done, and just efficient. The other thing you want is you want a problem solver. I always tell every time I've ever interviewed anybody for any position, I tell people that I need problem solvers. That is what I need in my business. I need people that are capable of researching things, figuring things out, and I don't need people working for me that need me to hold their hand all the time, because then I'm more, I'm doing it anyway. The tasks I sent you to work on, what I have you taking off my plate, I'm doing it anyway. Now, of course, you got to train them really well. You got to make sure that they understand the job, the whole 9 yards. But those are some characteristics that I look for in an admin. You don't want sass. You don't want them to talk back to you. Nothing like that. But admins are a different story altogether. But those are some of the things that I look for. But yeah. Facebook ads. I've done a whole free webinar on Facebook ads, guys. If you like it, comment on it. Comment on this and just say Facebook ads webinar, and I'll DM you a link to it. This doesn't go in as much detail as maybe you might need, but it's basic. It's for beginners. Maybe I should just do a whole video just for, maybe some more advanced Facebook ads, but that's up to you guys. Let me know if that's something you guys would like to see. Okay. Marketing. Too broad, guys. Marketing. Like, what do you want me to talk about marketing? I need a little bit more. That's a pretty broad subject. There's a lot of different ways to market. There's a lot of different things you can do to market yourself. There's different types of marketing. Chad wanted me to talk about sticking to a schedule. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. It's something that I've had to deal with as a kid, basically, starting in this industry and growing into an adult. I had a really hard time sticking to a schedule at the beginning. I was used to kind of just goofing off, right? And like working 40 hours a week at a job somewhere, and and then, like when I wasn't working, a lot of times I was goofing off. So when I started in the business, this was my schedule. And my schedule was I kept my job because, you know, a lot of you might not realize this, but even though I started working with my dad wasn't giving me free leads. My dad wasn't paying me, nothing like that. I was 1099, and I was cold calling, dead data lists of people turning 65. That's what he taught me to do. And so I kept my job for probably the first 5 months, 6 months, something like that. Um, mm-hmm. And I would work that job Saturday and Sunday. And I'd work 12-hour shifts Saturday and a 12-hour shift on Sunday. So 24 hours in 2 days at that job. And then Monday through Friday, I would work 12 hours building the business. And so having no days off for essentially 5-6 months in a row, I might have taken like one day off at the job. I think I got sick or something. But was kind of grueling for me, and I wasn't used to that. Nowadays, I feel like I'm working constantly all the time. But this is my advice when it comes to sticking to a schedule for all of you guys. If you're having trouble with this, one thing you have to do is you have to put it down on paper. Like, you should get some kind of planner, right? I have, promoted for free a lot the Passion Planner. I've used a Passion Planner for years. You need some kind of very, very detailed planner that essentially has you write down your goals, your targets, but not just your goals in general where you just write down what you want in life. There is some of that, but you're also going to write down your goals for the next 90 days, next week, next day, next year, next 5 years, lifetime. Like, it's very detailed, and it really makes you think and kind of figure out, okay, what am I trying to accomplish right now? What am I trying to do right now? And how do I break it down into little steps to where I can essentially each day take some steps to kind of get me closer to this ultimate goal? That's what the planner does. I didn't get a Passion Planner this year. I got a Legacy Planner, which is pretty similar. I'm just trying it out, just trying something different. But you should get a really good planner. Put it down on paper. It's just my opinion. You don't have to. I just like it. It just makes it feel real to me if I'm writing it out. And I write down my goals every single night before I go to bed. And I kind of map out my day for the next day, 7 days a week. This is a ritual for me. And it helps me stick to my schedule and kind of see what I need to get done every single week. And helps me keep on top of a lot of things. The other thing I have is, I use Microsoft Outlook for my email and also my calendar. And my calendar on my Outlook account is religious to me. If something's on my calendar, I'm going to be there. Like, I could lose a limb and I'm probably still going to be there. Because it's a religious thing for me. So if something gets on my calendar, I have to show up for it. I have to be there. And if I can't, the person's going to hear from me way in advance, as much advance as I can possibly give them. And we're going to reschedule it. Everyone that helps me in my office, back to the admins thing, I have a bunch of admins that work in our office. All of them that work for me, they have access to my calendar through like a Calendly link. And so they schedule appointments for me, they reschedule appointments for me. So that calendar has basically become, it's almost like a religious dedication to me. If something goes in my calendar, I'm going to stick to it. So the other thing I would encourage you to do is wake up at the same time every single day. As human beings, we crave consistency, we crave schedules, and we crave routines. So if you're having trouble sticking to a schedule, there's a good possibility that maybe, you're staying up late at night, you're sleeping in during the day. At least I know I have had those problems in my life when I was younger. Nowadays, I wake up at 6:30 every single day, somewhere in there, and I have a routine of what I do every single day. I actually just made a YouTube video about this recently, so I won't go into too much detail. You guys can go check that out if you want to see it. But those are just a couple of things about sticking to a schedule, wake up same time every day, go to bed the same time every day, make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're getting 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep every single night, no negotiations. Last thing I'll say about this is you can't negotiate with yourself. That's poison. What I mean by that, and we all do it, we play these head games with ourselves where we're saying, I know I'm not supposed to eat ice cream. I'm doing it right now. I know I'm not supposed to eat ice cream, but I'll start tomorrow. right? You play the whole I'll start tomorrow game, and that never ends well because tomorrow never comes. The only way you actually see change in your discipline and in your habits is when you say, I'll start today. Not tomorrow, but I'll start today. And I learned that, over time, that every time I told myself I'll start tomorrow on something, I never ever did. It was only when I woke up and said, okay, I'm starting today. No negotiations. And I don't negotiate with myself on the things that are my habits and my routine. So that's how you kind of develop a habit. They say you have to do something every single day consistently without fail for 60 days in a row for it to become a habit. And so you want to develop a habit, it's going to be like anything, right? It's going to be like a muscle. You have to exercise it, work it out for it to get stronger. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. So anyway, maybe a little long-winded on that, but okay. Becky Wilson, being in that in-between space, working in my business, but still needing to work in my business because my downline is not producing. Okay, I like this. Kind of excited about that question. All right, so you're feeling the need to work in your business because your downline is not producing. You know what your problem is? I can tell you right now. It's obvious to me, and it might be obvious to some of you guys watching. If you're relying on your downline to produce, you probably shouldn't have a downline. And that's my honest opinion. I'm not saying that to be mean or hurtful. I'm just trying to be honest with you. My opinion is, if you're going to bring on downline, you should have a book of business built up that more than takes care of your expenses, because you can never rely on downline. I said it a second ago. 92% of agents don't make it in this business. I have another statistic for you. I've gotten this from a couple different FMOs, and the data is probably going to be different depending on who you talk to, but probably 7 out of 10 agents don't ever write an app. 7 out of 10 agents never actually write one policy. So agents fail in bunches. And that's because tons of people get into this business and go independent that should never be independent. They have no business being independent, and they don't have what it takes. It's just the truth. I've seen people that have the greatest opportunities, the greatest mentors, the greatest situations. They're being given leads. I've seen people in sweetheart deals not make it in this business because it's just not for them. Not everybody's meant to work for themselves. Not everybody is capable of having that discipline and that structure. And you can never rely on a downline to build your business. Never. That's a fool's game. That is never going to work for you. You should be focusing on yourself, writing business yourself, and you know why? That is the one thing that you can control. You can't control other people, no matter how hard you try. You can't want it for them more than they want it for themselves, and most people are not going to do anything. The rule of thumb when it comes to recruiting agents is if you want to find one good agent, you have to recruit 10, and if you're lucky, one will be good. That's if you're lucky. So my advice would be forget about the downline, go write business. That's what you can control, and you make a lot more money doing that. So, I think if you're going to recruit agents, you should have a large block of business already established, because you'll be able to, pay expenses, pay your bills, everything like that, and you don't need the agent's production. That's the problem here, right? You're having to work in your business because you need their production. You need to get to a place where you don't need them. And if they do well and they do succeed, it's icing on top, right? It's a cherry on top. But you can't get to a place where you're reliant on them. It's the old multi-level marketing model, right? How many people have you ever known in multi-level marketing companies that they're just relying on their team to go do something, and they never get anywhere because they're relying on their team? This is not multi-level marketing. It might have some similarities, but you can make way more money writing business yourself. So just, I mean, stop bringing on downline. That would be my advice. That's my answer. Okay. Tasks given to a virtual assistant. I love that question. By Tony. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. So, tasks given to a virtual assistant. This is actually an awesome question because I just started using a virtual assistant with Lead Heroes in the Philippines. What I would say it depends on what you're doing with your business. I can tell you what I'm doing with my virtual assistant in the Philippines. They're kind of doing all of my social media stuff right now. So that's a big part of kind of what they're doing for me. My laptop is going to die, guys. Crap. Maybe I can get my wife to bring me my charger. Let's just see what we can do here. Because I want to keep going. I don't want to just take off. Can you bring me my charger? Okay. All right. So virtual assistant. So what I'm doing right now is I do a ton of things on social media. A lot of you guys know this. What I'm using the virtual assistant for right now is, I'm having them use Hootsuite. If you're not familiar with Hootsuite, it's an amazing, awesome tool. You can schedule posts ahead of time for, as many as you want with pictures, videos, hashtags, the whole 9 yards. It essentially looks very, very good. It's not great on Facebook, but Facebook has its own scheduling platform, especially on business pages. So like if you have a business page and you want to post something a couple times a week on it, you can go on your Facebook business page and you can schedule those posts out. Hootsuite allows you to schedule posts on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. If you're using Twitter, probably the most valuable one there is LinkedIn. Depending on what kind of business you're running, of course. If you're doing under 65, LinkedIn is gold. Melanie, Hootsuite. Yes, that's the name of the website. It's called Hootsuite.com. It's free. It has a paid version, but I use the free version. And it's a social media scheduler. So you can schedule your posts out, or if you have a virtual assistant, you can have them schedule your posts out. You kind of got to train them on what you want them to post. I mean, it helps if you already have content built out to do this. But essentially, if you already have things, that are pre-made, like for me, right? I have probably almost 700 YouTube videos between our two channels on YouTube. So there's never ending videos that they can post. The other thing I've been teaching them to do is like go through my videos and, I've taught them how to use Canva. So, she's able to go onto Canva and I tell her, find a quote of something that I said that sounds profound in the video. And, whatever that means, but she's done a great job at kind of filtering out what should go on there or not, and like make it as a quote and post it on your business page. Those things perform really well. Or your followers like to see it posted on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has more organic capabilities than any Facebook business page will. But that's what I have my virtual assistant doing now. If you're not doing a lot of things on social media, a virtual assistant can call clients back. If it's a simple thing and you can kind of instruct them on what they need to tell the client so you don't have to talk to them. A virtual assistant, now I wouldn't do this with my virtual assistant in the Philippines, but if you have someone in the United States, that's a great task for them. You can have them call insurance companies and check on the status of certain things, right? If you're doing contracts, they can check on contracts. If they are, hang on guys. Battery's really getting low. Got to get the wife to bring me the charger. I don't know if she saw my text message. You can get them to call carriers for certain things. Hey, are you home? Oh, dang. I need my charger. I thought my computer's about to die. All right, bye. Don't go anywhere, guys. I'll be right back. Count to 30. I'll be back. Gotta get my charger. Okay, we're back. All right. We are good, guys. Catastrophe avoided. I should have brought it down with me. I figured I'd be on here a while. Okay. All right. So, virtual assistants, right? Let's pick up where I left off. So, another thing you can do is a lot of you guys, especially if you have a book of business already established, right? Maybe you have 300, 400 clients or something like that. You're starting to see referrals come in. So one thing a virtual assistant can do is, like, if someone called and left you a message and said, I want to schedule an appointment with you, and this happens to me every single week, almost every single day at my office now, but not all of you are there yet, and that's okay. But one thing that I would have a virtual assistant do is, if they're in the United States, I'd have them call that person back. You want to have some kind of scheduling platform that syncs with your calendar. Maybe it be a Google Calendar, Outlook, whatever it might be. But you want it to sync with your calendar, so that way they can very easily schedule an appointment with you. So that way you don't have to waste the time of calling that person back. I mean, that could... They might start asking you a bunch of questions, like it just can take a bunch of time away from you. You got to find ways to save time. That's the purpose of a virtual assistant. So those are things you need that they can do. If you're helping a client with a claim, they can call and check the status of that claim. If depending on the situation, they might not be able to get information on it, but sometimes they can. And you can teach them how to work on claims if it's somebody that's in the United States. Essentially, you want them to take customer service tasks off your plate. The other thing that I would have a virtual assistant do always, I'd have them run drug comparisons. I'd have them check doctors when I'm maybe having someone come in that is a referral, or someone that's a very warm lead, or maybe even somebody that I've met with and I needed to do a 2-step appointment because I needed to check out some things, right? I would have the virtual assistant do minimal tasks like that, right? Like, if you want to make $100 to $200 to $300 to $400 an hour, you cannot spend your time doing $15 an hour work. And running drug comparisons is $15 an hour work. Checking doctors is $15 an hour work. Now, you have to do it at the beginning, but if you're at a place where you're looking to hire out, then that's essentially going to be tasks that you can have them do. So there's just a couple of ideas. There's many, many more things on top of that you can have them do, but just a few ideas. Another question from Tony: what to say and how to network with referral partners? I went over that already. I'm not going to touch on that again. Easiest way to recruit, or how to increase your agency size. Easiest way to recruit: bring value. Bring value to people's business. I think if you do a good job of finding ways, and creative ways at that, to bring value to people's business, people will want to be connected to you. People will want to do business with you because you're the person that's bringing value to their business and helping them grow. And what does value look like? Well, it's just providing resources, right? I mean, putting out content is a great way to bring value. Sharing things for free and not asking for anything in return. Gary Vaynerchuk says it very, very well. I mean, he has a very famous book. A lot of you guys might have read it. It's called Jab, 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 Right Hook. Now, it's more made for social media, but it's more of a business philosophy if you really think about it. You give, jab, 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 right hook, right? So you give 3 times as much as you're asking for. And I think if you do that, and you always have that mentality to where you're giving, people are going to want to do business with you. In terms of increasing the size of your agency, Don't be afraid to invest into your agency, spend money, and don't be quivering in your boots about losing money. Every single person in our industry, everybody, with zero exceptions, I do not care, throw any name at me, I guarantee they've lost money spending money at in their business at some point in time. You can't be a timid little mouse in terms of spending money on your business. Doesn't mean that you're reckless, doesn't mean that you're trying to lose money, but you have to have courage when it comes to increasing the size of your agency. The only way to scale is to be willing to spend money to reduce tasks, free up your time, and also to make sure that you're bringing in more business, right? Like I say it all the time, in this business, you either give up time or money to obtain a new customer, a new client. And when you're first getting started, you don't have that much money to give likely, most of the time. You have more time to give, so you can kind of give up some of that sweat equity to essentially, get out there, pound the pavement, get those kind of clients. But as you go and as your business grows, your responsibilities grow to kind of keep the business afloat and manage things, especially when you have employees, lots of customers, agents, all that stuff like that. And you have marketing campaigns. There's so many things going on a day-to-day basis. So you start to realize that it makes more sense to part with money to get some of that time back because you just don't have that much of it anymore. I hope that answers your questions, Tony. Michael Potts, my good friend Michael Potts, maintenance calls. So he said he wanted to talk about mainly incoming calls from current clients asking the same questions you already answered. The calls are time burners, but absolutely necessary to address. There's two things that I would recommend to kind of overcome that. There's a lot of things that I would say there's a lot of things that you can do to kind of reduce some of those calls and not repeat yourself. There's a reason why I created my consumer YouTube channel, Christian Brindle Insurance Services, which we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. I'm excited about that, but that's more for consumer content. I originally created that channel because I wanted to make little tutorial videos on like how to apply for Medicare Online, how to apply for LIS, how to use GoodRx and get free coupons, just different little things like that. Because what I would do with them is when I would work with a new client and that would come up, or that would be addressed, or that would be something that they would ask about, I can tell them on the phone. I can be like, well, listen, Mrs. Jones, that's a great question, and I actually put together a video tutorial that walks you through exactly how to do that. That way you don't just have to hear me talk to you about it. It can actually show you at your convenience how to take care of this issue. Let me email that over to you. It's super easy. It's just going to be a link. When you open your email, all that you have to do is click the link and the video will automatically open up and play. So that's making videos is a great way to reduce some of those tasks. That's one thing that you can do. That's a purpose of videos. It's not just to market yourself. I mean, there's multiple purposes to make videos, but it's not only to market yourself. You can use those videos and send them to people to answer questions that you ultimately have to answer all the time. So that's one thing you can do. The second thing you can do is obvious. You might need to hire somebody. You might need to find a really great admin, pour into that person, teach them everything that you can, and essentially they will become an extension of you, and they can kind of field some of those calls for you, and it won't seem so overwhelming when you have to answer like the same question 6 to 7 times a day. I know, I've been there. I know what that feels like. It's not fun. So those are a couple of things that I'd recommend. Okay. Services we should expect/receive from a good upline. Love that question. I think when it comes to an upline, my wife got me so much ice cream. She got me like 2 scoops. I don't need 2 scoops, but I'm going to eat it all. Okay, so services / what we should expect from a good upline. That's $1 million question because all of us are at a different place in our business and we need different things from our upline. I'll give you an example. If you are a brand new agent and you know nothing, you're newly licensed and you're just kind of, you're wet behind the ears. What you need from an upline is you need somebody that's going to give you the time of day, somebody that's going to take you on appointments possibly, right, if that's possible. Someone that's going to jump on a call with you and spend an hour explaining what a Medicare supplement is and what a Medicare Advantage plan is, what the difference is, how to look up doctors. Like, you need to learn everything from scratch. And that's what a good upline is going to be doing for you. And it's not super high level things that you need to learn. Whereas if you are 5 years in, and let's say you have 400 clients, 500 clients, you need different things from your upline. You don't need your upline necessarily to hold your hand. What you need your upline to do instead of hold your hand is you need them to essentially help you negotiate co-op money, right, with carriers. If for those of you who don't know what co-op money is essentially when an FMO or a carrier, usually a carrier, FMOs usually will negotiate with the carriers, and that's kind of where the funds come from, but they will negotiate with a carrier to match usually dollar for dollar what you spend on something. So let's say you drop $1,000 on direct mail leads, they can get a carrier to come in and match your $1,000, and so instead of just $1,000 you spent, you have $2,000, right? It's like a dollar for dollar match. Sometimes, very rare instances do you see that anybody not do 50-50 match, because usually carriers want to see you put some skin in the game. They don't just want to throw you money. But a good upline is going to provide you resources like that help you scale. Another thing is if you're let's say you have 1,000 clients, you're starting to recruit agents. A good upline is going to help you with the workload of contracting these agents and keeping track of their contracts and things like that, sending out contracting links and those kind of things. They're also going to kind of keep you posted on new companies that are going to come in the market. They're going to provide training no matter where you're at in your business. They should be providing training. And they should be providing a very wide diversity of training, that some of it will cater to new agents, some of it will cater to veteran agents that need to take a step up in their business. So they should be doing webinars. They should be doing, all kinds of stuff. Now, if you're direct to an FMO, they're probably not going to stay on the phone with you for an hour and train you on how to do something, because usually you're going to be assigned a marketer. Some will, but they're more going to help you out with like technology tools, right? CSG actuarial, Sunfire, Connecture, things like that. But I think training, support, strategy sessions are big, right? Helping you come up with a business plan, giving you different ideas, marketing ideas. All that stuff is going to be key. Helping you get into booths, helping you, do things with carriers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a million things that a good upline should do for you, but what you should really value is going to depend on where you're at in your business. So I hope that answered your question. How to get your first administrative assistant started. Talked about this a little bit, but it's a kind of a different question, so I'll touch on it. How to get your first administrative assistant started is you have to teach them. You have to train them. And you have to essentially show them how to do everything that you do on a day-to-day basis when you're doing the admin work. So whatever your system is, right? Let's say you use a CRM. Well, you should probably create a login with that CRM and show them how to use the CRM, and be prepared to show them a couple of times after that, because they're going to need to be reminded. The other thing is they're going to need a computer. Now that computer, remember, this person is an extension of you. So if you want to be 100% compliant, that computer has to be fully encrypted, has to be protected, it has to be secure. With your administrative assistant, I hope that you're background checking them, making sure that they're a very good quality person. You're putting them through a pretty, detailed interview process. And you need to make sure that this is a person that I would want one of my clients to talk to on the phone. If the answer is no to that, don't hire them. I promise you this. that's a really, really good indication. Like, would I be afraid if this person talked to one of my clients? Now, you're going to be afraid at first because they don't know anything, but just in general, like, their personality. But they're going to need a lot of training at the beginning. And one thing you can do to kind of get their feet wet as well is give them very simple tasks. So like you could say, call XYZ insurance company and check on the status of this I'm waiting for and let me know what they say. And see how they'd handle it. And as time goes on, you start off giving them very simple tasks and you do some training each day. And as time goes on, as they get more familiar, as you kind of, they kind of get a feel for you and you're getting a feel for them, you start to increase the complexity of the tasks that you're giving them as you go. And it takes time as well, right? I mean, think about how long it took you to essentially, learn everything that you know today. It probably took you a very long time. So you got to give them some time and give them a chance. I always say it probably is like at least 6 months until they really are competent. So you got to be patient with them as well, but you also have to be aware and cognitive if you feel like they're not going to work out. Like, it's a very fine line there, but I think sometimes they're going to need more time. Sean, there's so many questions on here, guys. I'll stay on because I love this stuff. But we might be on a while longer. Getting motivated to make calls. All right, this is a good one. Of course, it takes motivation to make calls. Making calls is not necessarily fun. What I've always found, especially when I was cold calling, I shared with you guys at the beginning that that's kind of how I started in my career. I was cold calling data lists, which is probably one of the most hardcore sales things you can do. And so I had plenty of situations where I would try, especially in my early career, I had days where I would try to do everything I could to come up with excuses why I couldn't dial. I, had to do this instead. Oh, I'll do it after I do this, or whatever the case might be. But as soon as I got on the phone and started making the calls, it was never as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. I would dread it all night and all morning going into the office. And then when I would actually finally start doing it, it was never that bad. You just have to push yourself and force yourself to do it. Like I talked about earlier with scheduling, non-negotiable. You set a time for yourself. You put it in your calendar like it's an appointment, and say, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to dial and I'm going to call leads. And unless you have your loved one in a car accident, something like extreme, life-threatening, you're going to be there and you're going to make calls from this time to this time. That really helped me because I would make an appointment with myself to make calls. I think if your mindset and your mentality is to just make calls as you go, you're gonna find yourself having a really hard time doing it. So those are some things that you can do with that. Cross-selling current book of business to add life, hospital plan, cancer. Oh, I love this. Cross-selling. One of my favorite things to talk about. So, of course, I'm no queen of the bundle. I'm no Galen Hendricks. But I'm pretty good at cross-selling. I've done a lot of cross-selling in my career. I've sold a good amount on hospital indemnity, cancer plans, more since I met Galen. Hospital indemnities, dental, vision, hearing, all that stuff. And sometimes people are afraid to bring them up. I've said this before, and I'll get into some more detailed explanations on this, but I got to get this out of the way because it's really simple. You cannot cross-sell extra products if you never bring them up. You just can't. And so if you're too afraid to bring them up, you're never going to make a sale with the cross-selling opportunity. Now, you need to find ways to bring them up throughout your presentation. This is what I found that's worked the best for me. So if I'm presenting, let's say, a Medicare Advantage plan, I'm going through the benefits with this person. I'm saying, okay, Mrs. Prospect, okay, Mrs. Jones, this is your hospital copay. It's $250 a day for days 1 through 5. One thing I wanted to mention to you, Mrs. Jones, is we have a little additional plan, like almost like an indemnity plan, that you can pair with this plan that will essentially beef up the coverage. It will essentially pay or help pay some of the larger costs and copays that are associated with a plan like this. But we'll come back to this later. And then you don't talk about it. You keep going. Once you've secured the Medicare Advantage plan sale, once it's done, you say, Mrs. Jones, do you remember a little while ago when I was talking about that little indemnity plan, that little essential, that little extra plan that you can pair with that? Is that something you might want to look at? And most of the time, they're gonna be at least be willing to take a look at it, right? It'd be like, I could just run you up a quick quote and kind of let you know what it would look like. And you run up a quote, and I feel like just for hospital indemnity anyway, just by doing that, you can probably walk away with, if you do 10 presentations, you can probably walk away with 3 or 4 of them that got a hospital indemnity plan as well. And what do we know about more policies in the house? The more policies that you have in the house, the higher your retention rate is going to be with said client. With dental's easy. You can just be like, do we want to look at a dental vision hearing plan? And people are going to do it. Cancer is probably the most important one that you should be pitching, though, in my opinion. Life, if you're selling Medicare supplements, you can bring it up on the same appointment. If you're selling Medicare Advantage, of course, we all know, you have to sell it on a different appointment, come back a week later, whatever it might be. But with cancer, if you explain to them kind of the risks they have with cancer, more people than not are going to end up getting a cancer plan. I think Galen Hendricks told me one time that in their office, they actually have them sign a disclaimer that if they don't want the cancer plan, so that way they're not held responsible if something happens with their cancer. But one thing you can tell people is, Mrs. Jones, I'm a big advocate for cancer insurance. I believe it's incredibly important, especially with your Medicare plan, because there are some holes in your coverage that leave you exposed for cancer. Now, if you're presenting a Medicare supplement, you would say, where you're exposed to, Mrs. Jones, is you're covered extremely well with this Medicare supplement plan or this Medigap plan on the medical side for your radiation, your chemotherapy, those kind of things. Where you are left exposed, however, is on the prescription drug side of things. Medicare Part D does not have a maximum out of pocket when it comes to prescription drug coverage. And some of these very expensive cancer prescriptions are a lot of times placed in a tier 5 category. And you end up paying a percentage of what these retail drugs end up costing. Now, sometimes you can get grants and sometimes you can get patient assistance programs, but that's never a guarantee. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time for them to actually start, providing the grant, even if you do qualify for it. I am a big advocate of getting a cancer plan. One thing also I got from Galen is, and you can be protected from this, Mrs. Jones, for $1 a day. For $1 a day, you can essentially add another layer of protection in your coverage that can make a world of difference. Medicare Advantage, it's even easier to sell it because they have 20% out of pocket in most Medicare Advantage plans for chemotherapy and radiation. So they have the Part D side of things as well. The Part D structure is really going to be exactly the same whether they have a Medicare Advantage plan or a Part D plan. We all know this. So Medicare Advantage, they're left exposed on the Part D side as well as the medical side. And 20% of chemotherapy, they're going to hit their max out of pocket no matter what it is in a matter of a month or two, right? It's going to hit it really quickly. So cancer should be very easy to sell, and it's probably the most important cross sell that we have, in our business, in my opinion. So I hope that helps a little bit. Cross selling is a very deep topic, and I could talk about it for an hour by itself. I'm going to move on. Role play, how to introduce yourself to pharmacist doctors. We touched on that. Okay. Leads. Crystal said leads. People don't answer phone calls, and if they do, they're irritated. They get 1,000 pieces of mail a day, and most businesses don't want you there because of COVID. That's fair. Um, let's see. I just want to make sure I understand the question. Okay, so I guess the question is, just to make sure I got it right, and I'll answer it best I can. What do you do if people don't answer the phone? Well, I think a lot of agents ran into that, especially this past AEP. There is such a saturation right now in the marketplace and all different types of marketing. This is something you're going to run into. This is why I say just buying leads is not going to cut it anymore. You guys have to have a multiple, diverse array of different ways you're marketing yourself and your business. You can't rely on just one thing, especially leads anymore, because direct mail responses are down with everybody. Areas that used to get 1.5% response rates on direct mail, they're getting 0.5% response rate. Why? Because there's more mail hitting them than ever, right? There's saturation in the marketplace. They're getting, instead of getting 5 pieces of mail a day, they're getting 25 in some areas, or whatever the case might be, right? They're just getting more mail, and there's more pieces of mail hitting their attention span, and they're just less likely to respond to your piece of mail because they're getting all this mail. They don't know which one to respond to, and it just kind of causes analysis paralysis for the senior. The other thing is, with the reason why people aren't answering the phones is because there's so many outbound calls being made to them, especially during AEP. There is robocalls being made. There's ringless voicemails that's hitting them. And it's from call centers. It's from scam companies. It's from overseas companies. It's from, you name it, right? Everybody's reaching out to these people. So how do you overcome this? Well, you don't overcome it by continuing to call. Now, you should call, though. If you have leads, you should probably try to call them 7 to 10 times on average, because they've done a ton of studies when it comes to leads that you have like a 90% better chance of making contact by calling 5 times or more or something like that. But at the same time, you don't want to waste your time either. If you called them like 8, 9, 10 times already, might not get them on the phone, right? You might eventually, but like at what point is it an efficiency problem? So this is a problem that is going on right now with all the marketing. There's more commercials than ever. There's Facebook ads going, and the cost of Facebook ads has gone up to generate them because there's so many more people playing in the pool. The way that you overcome this is simple. You do the type of marketing that Joe Namath and the big companies that are essentially causing this saturation can't do. And that's by getting yourself out into your community and branding yourself as the local expert. I'm just going over some questions. Is that for me?
Me and you.
I might be full of ice cream every time, but
We got ravioli.
okay.
You're eating my ice cream, you better not be.
No, it's mine.
Okay.
I got to get back to this question though. So anyway, one thing that you really need to be focusing on, and it needs to be a part of your marketing attack, is getting yourself ingratiated with your community. I think seminars are huge right now, and you should be trying to do some kind of seminars. You don't need to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on a seminar to make it profitable either. Now, if you want to scale seminars, you got to pump some money into them, but you can do a really low-cost, smaller seminar. You might not have as many people show up, but you might have, let's say you have 6, 7 people show up and you get 2 clients out of it. That is still good. And doing more networking, doing more grassroots marketing, getting out in the community and branding yourself as the guy or the gal in your community that does Medicare, that's something that is valuable. And I feel like the pendulum is starting to swing even more towards it than it was a couple of years ago with COVID. I think you had to do a lot of leads, a lot of mail, a lot of phone calls, telesales, all this stuff when COVID was going on, because people didn't want to leave their homes, right? People were freaked out to have people come into their homes. They didn't want to go anywhere. Well, the pendulum is flipped, and now that it's kind of started to ease up a little bit, all of these big corporate companies are starting to push into the marketplace and try to take market share. And there's so much more venture capital money being pushed into the marketplace. This is the type of money that us as independent agents, a lot of times we can't compete with. But what we can do that they can't do is we're local. That helps us on the SEO side if people are searching for local help, number one. Number two, people like to People want to talk to somebody. They want to sit across a table from somebody. They want to talk to somebody that's local in the town, and they want to know that you get them and you get their problems and you get the area that you're working in. So I think having a strong local presence is huge. I mean, we've actually been working on building another website that's Utah Medicare Advisors, because from an SEO perspective, it's going to be huge for our business, right? And we'll be able to do well from people searching locally because Google is going to favor local businesses. They're going to give them a chance against some of these national businesses, because Google's main priority is to find people answers and find them the most accurate answers. So, yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's so many different things you can do with grassroots marketing. I won't get into too much of the specifics, but like referrals, networking, all that stuff is so valuable right now. Rebecca Davis is a great person. I mean, she wrote a book all about grassroots marketing, and she knows more about it than I do. I've done plenty of grassroots marketing in my career, but I feel like grassroots marketing, seminars, all that stuff, that's how you kind of combat it, because you're doing it more in a local style that they're not going to be able to compete with as easily. So that's how you overcome that. You just gotta, I mean, if any of you have ever read the book Who Moved My Cheese, it's one of my favorite books. And it's all about adjusting to market trends in business and life in general. And so essentially when things change and there's different trends taking place where things aren't as effective as they used to be, you can do one of two things. You can keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and it's not going to be as effective, or you can be very quick and flexible and adaptable and change your approach, and you're going to be able to, kind of overcome it much faster than a lot of other people are. Because we as humans, we're creatures of habit. It's not our nature to want to flip a switch and should do something different, but you got to fight that urge to not want to do that. How to establish... I'm dying. Jennifer said, how to establish relationships with pharmacies, financial planners, other insurance agencies, etc. I'm never sure what to say and how to establish mutually beneficial relationships. We talked about this a little bit, but I didn't really talk about the pharmacies. Buffy Bain is probably someone that should talk on this more than me, but I'll give it a shot. If I was talking to a pharmacy, I'm always going to kind of come at it from the standpoint that, this is what I can do for your customers. I can be a resource for your customers, and I'm not going to harm them. I'm not going to serve myself. I want to serve them, and I want to serve you in helping them and finding the best option for your clients and customers. That is basically what I'm looking for. And the other thing is, a lot of times pharmacies are going to have certain insurances that they take that are preferred, and they have certain things they either don't accept or they're non-preferred or whatever the case might be. They have certain insurances, right? They have pharmacies have certain insurances that are preferable for them to accept. So if you can kind of get in with them and say, listen, I'm independent. If you don't know what it means for me to be independent, what it means is I represent a multitude of different companies. So whichever companies that you guys actually work better with, or you're a preferred pharmacy with them, if I know that and somebody comes from you, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that they end up on a plan that's going to work well with your pharmacy. You win and I win, but I'm somebody that you can trust. I'm a resource for your pharmacy and for your patients all at the same time. I eat, sleep, and breathe Medicare. I tell people, so I can tell you guys this. For the last couple of years, every appointment I've ever been in with a client, and it's a great line that I've said is, I don't know much about many things, Mrs. Johnson, but I can tell you anything you want to know about Medicare. I know everything there is to know about Medicare. Now, I don't. I know a crap ton about Medicare, but I don't think any of us know everything about Medicare because it's such a wide thing. I mean, there's always things that are coming out that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. But as far as the pharmacy goes, as far as the financial planner goes, as far as other businesses go, I know everything there is to know about Medicare. There is very few questions they can throw at me that I'm not going to know off the top of my head. And so I can say, I eat, sleep, and breathe Medicare. I don't know much about many things, Mrs. Johnson, but I know everything about Medicare. You wouldn't want to bring your car to have me fix your car. I'd probably give it back worse than you brought it to me as. But I can tell you anything you want to know about Medicare. Every single time I say that line, people smile. they chuckle, they laugh. It kind of just loosens them up a little bit. And so those are some things that you probably would work well with a pharmacy financial planner, and I've had good success with them. Hope that answers your question, Jennifer. Okay. Glenn Shelton. I know he was on here before. I don't know if he still is, but insurance agents not understanding how valuable their time is. It's impossible. It's impossible to make them understand, most of them anyways. And I commented, for those of you who didn't see that, I commented and I said, you've struggled getting this through to me at times, which is true. So part of the reason why I started this process this year of stepping into the background from personally producing and not running appointments myself anymore is because of Glenn Shelton. A lot of you guys know we're very tight. We're really good friends. We do Taco Tuesday together. We do business together. We've had plenty of private conversations where we would jump on a phone call, or he would call me, or I'd call him, and he'd be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, oh, I just got out of an hour-long appointment and I sold 2 Medicare Advantage plans. And he's like, dude, your time is way too valuable to be doing these individual appointments, and selling apps. Like, you should. He's told me this several times. He said, where you're at in your business and where you're at in your career, you should be doing nothing but doing training videos, webinars, content, and marketing. And he's right. And so one thing I can tell you guys is you guys have to look at each hour you spend as a time and as a monetary investment. So I do a lot of private coaching calls for people now. I seem to do some every week. And I charge $300 an hour. I'm not saying that to pitch you guys anything. I don't care. I'm only saying that because I have calculated that that's how much an hour of my time is worth, $300. And I used to just charge $100 for a coaching call, and it slowly dawned on me that I was losing money by doing that. When you broke down how much money that my company brings in per hour, I'm doing a $100 an hour coaching call, I would actually lose money by doing that. I could do so many other things and it'd be more profitable for me. So you need to guard your time. This comes back to hiring people and allowing them, giving up some control to the people that you hire so they can remove tasks from your plate. And I know it's scary because they're your clients. You worked really hard to get them. You don't want somebody to jump in and screw something up. But you have to give up control because you can't be all things to all people. I don't care how efficient you are. I don't care how many things you get done in a day. I don't care if you sleep 6 hours a day and get up at 5 a.m. every morning. It does not matter how efficient you are. It will help to a certain extent. But at the same time, you are only one person and there is only 24 hours in a day. So at some point, to get to a certain level of productivity, you need a organization of people. You need to be able to delegate tasks to people. And you need to spend your time on doing numero uno in your business, which is income producing activities. I think if you focus on income producing activities and find ways to outsource and delegate tasks off as much as you possibly can, that is how you win. And that's how the most successful agencies do it. And I've talked to people that they're like, oh, I love my clients, and I spend 2 hours on the phone with them and the connection is so great and I'll never lose that business and blah, 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 blah. I understand. And that's okay when you're first getting started because you have to scrape and claw for every client. But at some point, it's going to prevent you from taking the next step in your business. It's going to stop you from being able to level up. And if you want to level up, you got to value your time incredibly. Your time is the most valuable thing that you have, and you need to be the most valuable person for your business. You're the one that brings in the money, so you should be spending your time doing things that only you can do, that can't be duplicated. And for most of you, that's going to be writing business, bringing in new clients. It's not doing customer service work. It's not, licking envelopes for birthday letters, none of that stuff. You got to find a way to get those tasks off your plate. So great one by Glenn. He's spot on as always. Customer service by Andrew Lee. We've talked about that a lot on this. I think, that kind of goes hand in hand with the hiring, delegating thing. I'm not going to kind of go into that anymore. Okay, so John said buying leads versus generating leads, not referrals. Is one better than the other? Both have costs associated. For example, costs for return mailers versus just buying leads outright. Yeah, I mean, so what John is kind of talking about is doing your own marketing to generate your own leads, which if you're able to kind of do that, I think that is a great thing because then you control the marketing at all times. You can make adjustments, you can make tweaks. When you buy leads from a lead company, you're kind of at the lead company's mercy for the most part. They're going to do what they do to generate the lead, and the quality is going to be what the quality is. Now, a lead is a lead, right? So like your success is not always going to be predicated on the lead itself. It doesn't matter what kind of lead it is. A lot of times it's going to come down to your ability at selling the policy or selling over the phone or talking to somebody or having a conversation with another human being. That is what it comes down to, in my opinion, infinitely more than the quality of the lead. I think there are certain people that are such great salespeople and great conversationalists that you can hand them any lead. You could hand them 5-year-old leads and they can make something happen with it. I've worked aged leads many, many times in my career when I was coming up, and I was able to write all kinds of things. I was able to write life insurance policies, Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage plans, you name it, right? And it's because I learned how to be incredibly proficient by making calls and talking to people and kind of, doing what I do. And so essentially, when it comes to buying leads versus generating leads, the thing is with generating leads, when you're learning how to do that, right? You could be running your own Facebook ads, you could be doing your own branded direct mail. That you typically have to learn what is going to work and what's not going to work. And I'm not saying this to discourage you from generating your own leads. I think that you should always be studying marketing. I think especially if you are trying to build a company and you're starting to take the next step, you should be studying marketing. Because if you know how to market something, you'll always be able to make money in this life. Always. Even if you're not doing insurance, right? Let's say some, single payer system happens, Medicare for all happens, and let's say we're all out of business, right? We're all out of a job. You can go do something else if you know how to market proficiently, and you can do exceptionally well at it. It doesn't matter what it is, right? I mean, Medicare Bob taught me that. Robert Bache, he told me that one time when we were talking, and it just was a light bulb moment for me and so ever since then, I was always studying marketing, but I wanted to be proficient at marketing myself because I hold the power. I don't rely on a vendor or anything else like that. Now, that being said, when you're first getting started as an agent, the last thing you want to do is spend all of your time studying marketing and trying to run your own leads, because learning how to be profitable by generating your own leads is very expensive. This is really, really important, you guys. It's very, very expensive to generate your own leads when you're first learning how to do it, because you have to go through trial and error. You have to figure out trends. You have to figure out what works, what doesn't work. Something might work incredibly in my area. It might lay an egg in your area, right? Algorithms change, all kinds of things like that. So sometimes, you end up losing money just kind of figuring out how to do something. I don't think he'll mind me sharing this story. The first time I ever talked with Medicare Bob, I did an interview with him for one of my YouTube channels. And one thing he told me stuck with me. I'll never forget it as long as I live. He told me that, at the time, this was several years ago, he said that, he's actively doing, Google SEO ads and, pay-per-click and things like that. And he told me, he's like, last month, I spent $30,000 on Google ads and it didn't work. And I was like, he's like, it didn't work. But that didn't mean he stopped doing Google ads. He kind of went back to the drawing board. He adjusted his approach and he did something different next time. and you just kind of try things. And that's what it means to generate your own leads. You're essentially filling the role of a marketer. Whereas when you're new and you're spending money in your business and you're just trying to get leads, it's probably going to be better for you to just buy leads instead of having to figure that out. I mean, you want to study things and maybe just spend a little bit of money and try things on the side as time goes on, because then you'll learn as you go. But to just solely rely on generating your own leads, especially when you're newer in the business, it's just a loser's game in my opinion, unless you already have a lot of knowledge of it coming in. I think buying leads from a vendor is going to be better for you at the beginning, and then you learn marketing on the side, you try things as you go, and then eventually the goal is to be able to generate your own leads, and you don't need to rely on the vendors as much. So that's my 2 cents on that, John. Okay, Michelle said, when making turning 65 calls, what to say to get people's attention with the least amount of frustration for them? I assume you're talking about cold calling, Michelle? I hope I'm understanding your question right. If you're talking about cold calling, people turning 65, which is, like I mentioned a couple times in this video, that's how I started. I kind of went from 0 to 6 figures as an agent, cold calling people turning 65. I wasn't doing anything that I'm doing today. Now, if I were to go back and do it all over again, knowing what I know today, I probably wouldn't take that same approach, but I'll go over with you guys my turning 65 cold call script if you would like to hear it. So this is my cold call script. So let's say I'm calling Miss Betty, right? So it's ringing, ring, ring, ring. Now, granted, this is a cold call, right? She didn't ask for information. She's going to answer. She's going to say, hello. I'm going to say, hi, is this Betty? I really want to get my tones right? I want to be excited. There's so many people that will call people and they'll be like, hi, is this Betty? Like, nobody wants to talk to that person. The energy is not good right off the bat. But I'm going to go, hi, is this Betty? I have a smile on my face. They can hear that coming through the phone if I have a smile on my face, just in how I'm talking, right? So I'm going to say, hi, is this Betty? I'm going to be excited. And I'm always going to use the first name. I'm never going to use the last name. Always. The reason for this is because I wrote in my book, How to Be a Six-Figure Medicare Agent, that you have between 8 to 10 seconds to get their attention when you're cold calling before they hang up on you. Greg, my new friend Greg Gerbikian said, he's like, I really think it's probably more like 5 or 6 seconds, and I think he's probably right about that. You don't have a very big window there to get their attention. So by using their first name, what you're doing is you're subconsciously, without them realizing it, you're planting a little bit of seed in their head, a little bit of doubt, that they might know you, and they're less likely to hang up the phone until you tell them what you're calling about. So you have this little itsy bitsy window to get their attention and get them to talk to you. Now, you could do everything perfect when you're cold calling. Everything could be spot on and magnetic and perfect and beautiful, and you could get your tones right. You could never stutter. You could get everything out beautifully. You do everything perfect, and you're still going to get hung up on a lot. So keep this in mind. But it's all about getting, maybe, if you, let's say 1 out of 10 people is willing to talk to you and the rest of them hang up, it's about getting your approach a little bit better. So maybe 2 out of 10 talk to you instead, right? And then if you make 100 phone calls, you have 10 additional people that were willing to have a conversation with you if you raise your ratio from 1 out of 10 to 2 out of 10. So anyway, I'm going to go, hi, is this Betty? She's going to go, yes. I'm going to say, hi, Betty. My name is Christian. I always just say my first name. Some people will call up and they'll say, hi, this is Christian with Medicare Advisors. And I sound like a salesperson. I sound like a solicitor. This person is probably getting calls all the time, especially if they're turning 65, all the time from people sounding just like that. Don't do that. Trust me on this. Don't do that. They're going to hang up on you. So they're more likely to hang up on you. I'm going to say, hi, Betty. My name is Christian. The reason that I'm calling today, Betty, is I was calling to see if you had picked out your Medicare supplement yet. So I'm going to say just that. I'm going to say, and I'm going to wait. I'm going to let her respond. I'm going to say, so again, just to reflect, I'm going to say, hi, Betty, my name is Christian. The reason for my call is I was calling to see if you had picked out your Medicare supplement yet. Instantly right then, she knows what I'm calling about. She knows who I am. But I got to my point, and what I'm trying to find out if she signed up for anything yet. Now, a lot of people will lie to you, but that's okay. Some people will say, yeah, I already picked out something. I'm going to say, Okay, great. I don't know if this might be out of the question, Betty, but I'm actually with a local organization that specializes in Medicare. We're incredibly credible, and we represent all of the different insurance companies. I don't know if this might be something you might find valuable, but if you'd like, I'm going to be out in your area later on this week, and I'd be happy to come by and give you a second opinion just to make sure you pick the very best thing for your situation. Just try to get in the door, try to get them to get a second opinion. You're going to get hung up on a lot. I promise you this. If they haven't picked something out yet, then great. I mean, if they say, no, I haven't picked anything out yet, I'd say you probably have a much, 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 infinitely, maybe 7 out of 10 chance of booking an appointment with them. And it just depends on what you're trying to do, too. Some people will try to have a conversation with them just right there over the phone, not try to have an appointment. When I used to do it, I was doing it to book appointments to go out and see them in person to their house. I don't do that anymore. So the approach and the script is going to just be tweaked a little bit depending on what your objective is, but that was my script. I have an entire YouTube video about this. It's got multiple thousands of views on it. So if you would like to see that video, let me know, and I am more than happy to send it to anybody. Let's see. Where did the post go, you guys? What is going on? Where did it go? Hang on, guys. I lost the questions. Bear with me. Okay. There we go. Found him. Okay. We're good. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Michelle. I hope that helps. That video goes into a ton of detail on it, and I do some practice calls with my wife and things like that. I just call her out of the blue. All right, Jocelyn, she said, I like videos where they help a struggling agent. Too many videos on agents that make $5 million their first 6 months. I know the algorithm don't really favor that type of content. Yeah, that's true. And I agree with you. I think focusing on a specific topic is going to be more beneficial for a lot of you, but, a headline of 5 million in your first 6 months or whatever, right? It's bullshit. Nobody's ever done that, but, it gets more clicks. So that's why people do it. Dental, kind of talked about that with the cross-selling thing. All right, so I think I got to all the questions on that original post. I'm going to skim through the questions on this and see if there is any questions that maybe I can touch on that I haven't talked about that much. And some of these, like I said, they should be full on YouTube videos, but I really hope this has helped a lot of you guys, and just is bringing a lot of information and a lot of just free advice, practical advice that you can plug into your business. That's really what I wanted this to be. So I hope this helps. Okay. Joe Tritola, what happened to my purple Etna t-shirt? It's upstairs. You want me to go get it? Starting to wear out. I wore it too much. Facebook ads webinar. Yes, Angie, I will get that to you. Lori, the amazing Lori King, she's fantastic. She said, ways to market speaking events. Okay, so I would say that there's 2 main ways that you would want to market speaking events, and this can be seminars too. I mean, same thing really, right? Seminars. I think that you want to do a mixture of direct mail and Facebook ads. On the direct mail, I would advise you to do a drip campaign to promote the event. So if you're doing, let's say, for turning 65 individuals, I think you'd want to send out a mailer 6 months before their birthday, send out another one 5 months before their birthday, and then send another one out maybe 3 months before their birthday. Depending. Or, it just depends on how far out you're doing the seminar. But you want to do some kind of drip campaign to where they're getting 2 or 3 pieces of mail. And I think that's going to do you a lot of good. And they need to actually look like each other, the mailers as well, because then they're going to remember that that's you. They're going to see it before, and it's going to be a little bit more familiar. The other thing is running Facebook ads for it. And what I would do is I would build a landing page or a funnel, and I would do a website conversion ad. I throw a pixel on the funnel, and I would push traffic into this landing page. It should be a one-page website. And if you don't know how to do this, that's okay. Hire somebody to do it, right? If you're going to run the Facebook ad or whatever the case might be. But this is how I would advertise a seminar. And then on this page, it's going to be an RSVP page. People will fill out their information, and you want to use like an active campaign, or like a Go High Level or anything like that, to where the information is going to essentially go. You want to use Zapier to connect the landing page to to what that is, or you can even use your CRM. And then you have automatic campaigns to send them automatic emails and send them confirmations, and then send them reminders as it gets closer. That's some pretty high level stuff that I just went over with you guys, but that's how I would do it to market an event. Even if you didn't want to go through all that trouble of learning all that, I think if you just ran a Facebook ad where they RSVP'd and you didn't do the automations, that would be fine too. You could even run a Facebook ad with a video of you talking, Lori. I mean, you're a fantastic speaker. And just put your phone number in the ad and have them call an RSVP. That would probably work too. Same thing with the direct mail piece, but I think you want to do a mixture of direct mail as well as Facebook ads. I think that's going to be your two dynamite mixture, if you will, for advertising seminars. Okay. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate your kind words. Just trying to help. Just reading through, guys. I want to make sure that I catch everything. I'm dying. I don't know why I'm coughing. Okay. Daniel asked a good question here. He said, talking about cross-selling California style, as you mentioned, time is important. So I buy out training. Often it's training with a carrier. My Texas upline gets me invited. I attend and then here, of course, not in California. So frustrating. Love to sell the ancillary products. Waste my time. Yeah, California kind of sucks. No offense to anybody that lives in California or likes California, but just the rules there kind of suck, right? I mean, the regulations kind of suck. For those of you who don't know, California has very limited ancillary products. And it's just the rules there. I don't know. But awesome, guys. Well, I think we got to the end of the questions. Any of you that commented that you wanted to see, a webinar that I did or a video on a certain topic or anything like that, I'll get with you and make sure that you have that. I'll go through that either tonight or tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Hope you guys are understanding about that. I probably should spend some time with my wife before she divorces me. I've spent almost 2 hours with you guys. And I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, please do me a favor. Drop a like on this. I'd love for it to be seen on a lot of people's news feeds, because I think the more people see it, the more people it's going to be helpful for. We'll also put this up on the YouTube channel. So if you watch the replay of this on the YouTube channel, let us know what you liked, maybe additional questions you have, and let me know if you'd like us to do this every so often. I am more than happy to do this every so often, maybe like once a quarter or whatever the case might be, and answer, just kind of do like a live question and answers thing to help you guys in your business. I know that there's only so much that I can do in terms of explaining things. It's not the same as if we were face to face and we were doing it in person together, but I want to do everything that I can to help you guys on a consistent basis. And I just love working with insurance agents. I love seeing you guys do well. And and so I hope you guys got some real value out of this. That was kind of what I was hoping for. Guys, I'm going to hop off here, and all of you have a terrific weekend, rest of your weekend. Have a terrific night, and we'll see you. We'll see you coming up here pretty soon. I'm going to plug something real quick if you guys don't mind. The one and only Tony Merwin will be doing a live Taco Tuesday with Glenn and I on Tuesday. We'll post announcements on it as it gets closer, so you don't want to miss that. We're excited about that. So anyway, guys, have a great night, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.